everyone, and welcome to another edition of Person of Interest. Today, I am talking with Jon Routledge he is Vice President of BestPass. He has an amazing background as a senior executive with accelerating growth in companies, and he is also a small business owner. So thank you, Jon, for being here today. I'm looking forward to the conversation. And a question for you to start, because I've known you for a couple of years, and I can't believe I don't know this, but Jon is from the UK, as you will discover when he starts speaking. Tell us, how did you land in the States?
It's a good question. So I spent the first sort of chunk of my career with DHL, the international delivery company in the UK, and got to visit various countries with DHL. And one of the things about DHL back then, and still very much now, is they are an incredibly diverse international company that provides and affords opportunities for people to work in different parts of the globe. Which is very common. You'll see a lot of different nationalities that have moved around with DHL. And I expressed an interest in pursuing that sort of in the early 2000s. And an opportunity came up to move to the US with DHL in 2001. And I had a young family, and I sort of looked at it and thought, okay, well, similar culture, similar language, acclimatization should be easier than going to certain other parts of the world. And the original plan was to come over for a couple of years and then decide what to do. And that was 2002. I finally got here. 2001, I was sort of introduced to the potential opportunity. Got here in 2002, and in 2021, I'm still here.
Well, we're glad that you are. So what makes you stay? You have an extensive background, and you've accomplished a lot. Tell us some high points of your career with, really accelerating growth in businesses, building businesses. There's been some exit strategies there. You've done some great work. So tell us some high points.
I think if I look at, without going into like each individual one, the common theme is, and you touched on it, I really enjoy taking something that is suboptimal and putting it on steroids. Accelerating growth, and that could be launching new products and services, or it could just be reorganizing something, or getting hyper focused on an additional market. But it's great to see something grow, not just for the monetary benefit, but typically as you grow something, you provide and afford additional opportunity for other people. And I've learned that the success of growing is not always how good you are, but how you surround yourself with good people that can not only lift the load, but ultimately make you better. They challenge you, you challenge them. It becomes very much a mutual acceleration, and being able to look back and see people I've helped, as I look back and acknowledge people that helped me. It's sort of like that pay it forward mentality and philosophy.
Love it. Yeah, definitely about the pay it forward. So when you think about your leadership positions and how you have grown as a leader over the years, talk to me about some lessons learned with your leadership style, like how you describe it today, and how did you get there, and maybe some hurdles along the way.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you hear the term servant leadership a lot, which I think gets overused. A lot of people that I've interacted with along the way claim to follow that model, but it doesn't bear out in what they do. But I think the intent of that, in other words, if you focus on empowering and supporting your people, they will ultimately go above and beyond. So there's often that debate: do you put customers number one or employees number one? And I see strong arguments for both, but I actually think they're interlinked, particularly in a service business. If you're putting your customers number one, you by default have to be hyper focused on your people, because that's the experience the customer will get. So that's very much the way I sort of approach things now. And it's, yes, it's provide exemplary service. It's not always about charging lots and lots of money. It's actually, I'm equally a great believer that if you provide good service, you'll be rewarded, either with repeat business or a desire for people to refer people, which is great. And I would say, very honestly, in my first leadership roles, was that everything that I was doing? No. I was far more, I think, instructive and directive, because you sort of, you haven't, I don't care how many books you read or how many classes you go to, until you've failed, you don't really learn. And I think that's another, you can tell people that have failed and learned because they're genuinely better versus people that maybe have just had continual success and don't necessarily understand how. So I would say that my style now is more measured. It's a lot more focused on bringing people along, collective collaboration. You do need to have someone that's setting out the vision. There needs to be someone that's saying, here's where we're going. And I'll be at the forefront of that, not from an ego standpoint, but I don't want anyone to take a risk that I'm not already taking. So I think it's more measured, more mature. I still love to have fun. And I think most people that work with me will know that there's a phrase that one of my bosses, who I thoroughly enjoyed working for and had a deep amount of respect for, he lived by the 3 Fs. Firm in both your beliefs and your principles. Fair in that everyone starts at the same point. Right? There's no prejudgment or special gift places to anyone, but fun. So firm, fair, and fun. And I think the last one often gets lost, particularly when things get tough. And I get it. The last couple of years, I suspect, is severely tested, not suspect, it has, in all levels of society, tested the fun. But you can't lose the fun, in my opinion.
Agreed. I have many things to comment on what you just said, but I'll just take the last thing about the fun, because that is one of my favorite words. So in this environment, especially being virtual, and obviously being one of the senior executives of a company that has a nationwide impact. And so how are you guys incorporating fun?
I think there's a lot of it is creating events that allow people to just step off the work pedal for a minute, right? But I think we're going through, and this is not related specifically to where I'm working, but I think in general, the cycle of the impact of the pandemic continues to ebb and flow. And I think in the initial scramble to go remote led to a, how are we going to do this? Led to a, oh, we can do it. You know, actually the world can function without us all gathering in a location. To then, you know, I don't want to say, well, I'm going to say Zoom fatigue, but you know, video conference fatigue. I'm not blaming Zoom. It's just that I use Zoom all the time. But you suddenly realize that, oh, this is taxing in a different way. So then you try and create some moments of distraction. And all of those things have a near-term benefit, but then the benefit wears off. And I think that the wave we're in at the moment is, what if this is reality forever? How do we now take that next step? We got through year one, but how about if this is the next 10 years? And I don't think anyone's yet got that down pat. But I think we need to stop looking at the next 3 months and sort of look and say, if this was the environment we're in for the next 10 years, what would we do? Now, that would make us think differently.
So that's one of my favorite phrases, think differently. So I think that you are, having worked with you, I think that you are a fantastic visionary. I think that you focus in on the strategic direction of the company and where it should go and how to get there. In this landscape and with all the things that you just mentioned, keeping that in mind, for business owners out there, for senior executives out there, for just people in general, there are people trying to start a business. What would you say are some of the top things to focus on right now to assist with not only growing the company, but growing the people?
Yeah, I mean, I can certainly relate to that. I mean, as you said, I'm a small business owner as well as an executive at BestPass. And I started that business with a long-term friend and business associate of mine in May of 2019. And we thought we had a pretty good playbook. It didn't include a global pandemic. So, 10 months after starting, where we were getting some traction, you're suddenly faced with, and we provide in-home services. This is the business. So you're not just how we're going to exist as a business, but the very thing we do is go and fix things in people's homes. And everyone's been told to isolate. So you're looking at that going, well, we're presented with a business landscape that is diametrically opposed to what we're trying to do. The good news in all of that, and I often dislike using the word good news because it sort of suggests that we were taking advantage of something, and I don't think that's the case. But the lifeline for us was that the service that we provide, which is supporting, repairing, fixing computer and telecommunication devices, was considered an essential service because people were suddenly having to work remotely and were having to use equipment to an extent that they'd never used. So that helped us, but we had to rapidly course correct. And I think that when I think about starting anything, whether it's a business, whether it's a project, whether it's launching a new service or whatever, be prepared to course correct. That doesn't mean that you should be doing the pendulum swing. If you're constantly on the extreme pendulum swing, then your initial course was probably wrong, right? So that isn't a course correction. That's called go back to the port, get another map out, figure out why your compass isn't working and rethink the direction. Course correction is all about making adjustments to the scenario. That's not being reactive and not having a plan, but it's understanding that your plan may still be to get there, but you can't always dictate the conditions of the road or the travel path that you would ideally like to go on. So you're going to have to course correct. And that also applies to growing people and managing people. Humans are not robots. We think, again, you can read every book and look at every personality profile, and I believe they all have an element to play. But if you're sitting there just staring at this book and saying, this person is this profile, so why are they not behaving like this? Well, because those profiles are generalizations. And there are nuances and moments and characteristics within people that cannot be captured in a profile, particularly something that's designed to be genericized across millions and millions of people. And you don't know what's caused the person to react the way they have, what emotional moment has just happened to them, right? So you just need to be ready. And it's not running around, with a fire extinguisher going, oh, the building's on fire, evacuate. It's more being able to be super calm. When we were faced with the real onset of the pandemic and the impact of the pandemic, we didn't suddenly panic. We got our team together virtually and said, okay, here's what we're faced with. Let's talk through the options. And I remember saying to them, first and foremost, if any of you are uncomfortable continuing to come to work, I understand. I'm not going to put anyone in a situation where they can't feel comfortable. But our intention is to get the business through this period of time. And we made corrections. We just adjusted. And we're still going, thankfully.
Well, you mentioned some of my favorite things, right? Have the vision, have the plan, but be able to course correct in a timely manner, make those decisions, move forward, course correct, right?
Well, yeah, because I think if you're looking for the perfect answer, it doesn't exist. You hear and the phrase "fail but fail fast." You don't plan to fail, but you will meet failure points, and you're better off figuring that you've just failed quickly and reacting to that and learning from it. And that's the course correction. The course correction isn't just the change in direction. The course correction is the fact that you can take a moment to reflect, how did you get there? What were the signals? With hindsight, if you'd have understood them, means that next time you'll avoid it. So that's to me is the sort of the rationale of constantly thinking, do I need to adjust? Do I need to adjust? Okay, let's do that. Okay, let's do that. Time is no one's favor in business. And in small business, it's even less of your favorite friend, unfortunately.
So tell me this, with our last few minutes, I have two questions. My first question is, in the past 18 months, what have you learned about yourself, or just learned in general, whether it's personally or professionally, that has made you better, that you have grown from?
This is going to sound probably a little bit cliche because it's being used a lot, but I think it's really, really true. It's that you live in the moment. Right, there's a line from one of my favorite films, which contains one of my favorite actors, Dead Poets Society, with Robin Williams, rest in peace, where he says, seize the day. And it's so true. You can always put something off. You can always find a reason to go, oh, I'll get to that, or I'll make that call next week. I'll get to doing that next year. And if the last 18 months has taught us anything, it's that value what you have, and when an opportunity comes along, go seize it, because it may not come around again.
Well said. And last question, you could parlay off of seize the day. Let's talk about fun. So in the past 18 months, what have you done for fun personally? You're sitting in Long Island right now. You used to live in Manhattan. During the pandemic, you moved. Talk to me about, how you're having fun these days.
How am I having fun? Well, yes, I did leave Manhattan because Manhattan became challenging to live in, even though I love Manhattan. I moved back to Long Island on Long Beach. I live right over from the Atlantic. So having fun is getting more time outside, enjoying the environment, adjusting to a different environment. Long Beach could not be more different from Manhattan, but it's different in different ways. I'm closer to my kids, even though two of them are in their 20s. One is will be graduating from high school this year, so it seems strange to call them kids. So enjoying the time with them, sharing interests, not just doing things on your own, but sharing interests. I got a dog a few months ago, she's slightly out of shot at the moment because she's passed out asleep. And I've still managed to, albeit they've been mini, take a couple of sort of like weekend breaks and get away. So I think the other piece is make a conscious effort that you don't just live in this sort of very insular, inward facing world. You can still safely do things. You just need to be respectful of others and mindful of others and be cautious, but you can still have fun.
Absolutely. And seize the day.
Absolutely. Could not agree with you more.
Well, Jon, thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate you taking the time. And feel free, everyone who is watching, listening, connect with Jon on LinkedIn if you would like. And thanks again, Jon. We'll talk to you.
Thank you, Catherine. Really enjoyed it.